Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Digimon Adventure 2020, Episode 6. So, let me tell you something here. Growing up, when I was first watching Digimon, Mimi was one of my favorites, and I don't really know why. Even looking back on it now, it's like I don't fully understand it, but back in the day, it's like I really just had no clue. Like I liked Ty, I liked Kari. Kari was always my number one favorite, but I liked TK. I liked all of them to a degree. Um, Honestly, Joe was my least favorite, but I still liked him. But for some reason, Mimi kind of always just stood out to me, and I could not, for the life of me, place why. And that was confusing as a kid because I grew up raised in a house that was very black and white on gender expression and stuff. Guys had to be into guy stuff, girls had to be into girl stuff. Like, I was constantly bought boys' toys and stuff. Like, I was constantly bought things I honestly shouldn't have been. I got a present one year. I don't remember if it was my birthday or Christmas or whatnot, but it was a wood burning kit, which is like all well and good, but I should not have been allowed to hold on to it. I actually burned a hole in my mattress. I remember that vividly. I remember burning a hole in my mattress. And it didn't start a full on fire or anything, luckily enough, but yeah, it's just like, what the hell? And as you guys know, I'm Christian, and when my family started going to church and all, it's like they were pushing that kind of thing too. And churches, even back then, and a lot of churches still do it today, they push the idea also that guys and girls have to be extremely separated, that they have to have like their own classes and stuff in some cases, that they have to just be, they have to, if we're going on like some kind of field trip or church trip or whatever, young boys and girls have to ride separately and stuff like that. It's like they kept pushing this idea that like boys and girls were their own thing, that they were separate, that there was no gray area at all. And then it's like, okay, this is for boys, action movies, G.I. Joe, cars. And that girl stuff was like princesses and stuffed animals and makeup. And you get the idea. So I grew up with that shit. And obviously nowadays I know that's bullshit and you can be into anything you want no matter what your gender is. That doesn't matter. I understand that now, but back then when I was a kid, I didn't. When I was a kid, I thought that's how it was supposed to be. And so when I was watching Digimon, I thought I was supposed to like Ty or Matt the most because they're the ones who are more of the boy icon characters. They're tougher and more headstrong and everything, and just have the more masculine like perceptions of things. So it's like that was always in my mind. I always thought I had to like them the most, but instead my favorites were always the girls. I always liked Kari the most. Her and Gatomon definitely just inspired me so much. And Mimi was always really up there too, probably second. And looking back on it, even though I don't fully understand why I liked her, I think one of the reasons why would probably be because of, even though I didn't know it at the time, I wanted to be her. because this could I could look back on a lot of things from my childhood where I um just kind of like loved these female characters and stuff and wanted to be like them and not even known it because that was so long prior to coming out, and back then I didn't even know what being trans was. But I think that's part of the reason. Mimi was always the pretty one. Like Sora was pretty, Kari was pretty, but Mimi was the pretty one. It was kind of her character. Yeah, she was a little vain and everything from what I remember. Um, but she was pretty. She was the fashionable one. She was just that was her thing. That was always her thing. And it's like I wanted to be that. And so I gravitated towards her character. And I like her character for the nuances that it gave to her. Because, like, I mean, to a degree, all the characters have some great nuances. Like Sora, like, geez, with her entire family issues and shit. And TK was going through some heavy stuff with that too. Um, but yeah, it's like, I don't know, it's just I gravitated towards her. And at the end of this last episode, we're introduced to Mimi. Um, because we get to see her, but we don't get to like learn about her yet. We don't get to meet her yet. That's very likely this episode. So yeah, we're gonna get Mimi, and I'm excited because again, this is one of the characters that I like the most growing up. And whether it was because of I wanted to be like her or not as a kid, that's not what's truly important here. The importance is that I did like her, and I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see that again. To It's one of the things that I really want from this series. That feeling of nostalgia. I want to feel like I did when I was a kid. I want to feel like I want to feel as excited for this series more so than I did as a kid. I want to just really get into it like I haven't in so long. Now, we also got to see a glimpse at Mimi's partner Digimon, Palmon. Palmon digivolves to Togemon, and I think the ultimate form is Lilymon, but Lilymon might be Mega. I'm not actually 100% sure on that. Um, Again, it's been a long time, so it's like I have to try and remember each stage and the order and everything. Um, but yeah, the entire point is that the Palmon line is very plant based, which very much fit with Mimi's entire pretty girl aesthetic. Um, it always just really kind of tied everything together because let's be honest, flowers are often associated with beauty, often associated with prettiness. And when you think of like pretty female characters, it's like, yeah, you'll like imagine like some kind of floral design or floral colors, or even in some cases, a flower in the hair, stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's pretty standard. um, and so they made her partner Digimon be very plant-like. And while it turns eventually turns out to be very floral, very feminine, very aesthetic, um, the champion level is a cactus. Togemon is a cactus, and cacti are not normally seen as very pretty. I mean, yeah, some cacti do definitely have flowers that grow on them and stuff, but cacti are normally seen as very rough, very sharp, very intense, even in some cases frightening. So the concept of this pretty girl whose Digimon, in a lot of way, all their Digimon are kind of a representation of their own selves, in terms of like the kind of personalities and traits and stuff that they bring. Seeing that the champion level isn't this pretty floral like Digimon, but rather a sharp thorny cactus that punches, it shows you that there's more to Mimi, that she's a fighter, that she's not just this pretty cutesy girl. She's a fighter, and she's willing to show those thorns, those cactus spines or whatever they're called specifically, in order to help her friends. And I'm hoping we get to see that. I'm hoping we get to see that in this episode. Now, another thing to note about Mimi and the Palmon line is that in the original series they weren't really major. Like, with all of the Digidestined in the group, like, all of them had times to shine, sure. But honestly, Mimi and Joe were the least important, I would say. In terms of just how the show presented them, in terms of just their inputs with the team. It's like, it was before Kari came in, let's be honest, a lot of it was Ty, Matt, and Sora. Those were like, they're the big three of the Digidestined. And then TK ended up becoming a lot bigger as well. But like, Joe and Mimi never really had that presence like the others did. And neither did their Digimon. Palmon and Gomamon just never really stood out as much. And the show never really made an effort to make them stand out as much. And it's kind of disappointing. Compared to the others, they just never had as much of an impact. And so I'm hoping that this series fixes a lot of that with both of them. I want to see them actually have that impact. I want to see them actually do more and have more of a role to play in the team, to where they feel like they're more important. Not necessarily more important than anyone else in the team, but like they're on equal footing. Because I want to see the Palmon and Gomamon lines live up to their potential that really we just didn't get to see enough of in the original series. Like, again, they had plenty of time to shine. They had their time to shine. All of them did. But it wasn't enough compared to the others. So hopefully they change that. Like, even Kari had more of a focus, had more than they did. Especially when she came in, that also bumped up TK a bit. Her and TK just always worked really well with each other, which hence why they're shipped so heavily by the fans. And I think they kind of had a relationship too. I think like that was actually canon, if I remember right. I don't know if it ever actually stuck, but I believe they did have a relationship for a time. Either way. I know I tend to ramble. But yeah, I want to see that fighting spirit from Mimi in this series. I want to see the sharp cactus hiding behind the pretty flowers. I want to see what Mimi can really do. That she's not just all pretty and all just fashion and shit. Like, all of that's great, but I want this to make sure it tells us that she is valuable as a member of the team, that she is strong, that she is determined, and that she is a fighter. Because I want to love Mimi as much as I did as a kid. But this time, I want to know why. This time, I want to see what I only thought I saw in her character as a kid. So yeah, all these pre-thoughts just about that, just as a quick recap, last time we had Izzy forming his bond with Tentamon. We got to see Kabuterimon, and the Digivolution from Tentamon to Kabuterimon, which was unintentionally hilarious. Um, Seeing Kabuterimon's arms on Tentamon's little body with the little head is just hilarious. But yeah, we found out that they have to go across the water, across the did they say ocean or sea? Probably sea, in order to find the holy Digimon, which I'm thinking might be Angemon. So TK and Patamon might already be there. Hard to say. Um, we'll see. We got a glimpse at Devimon, which is big. Like, I'm so glad they're doing Devimon, but it's interesting that they're doing the Soundbirdmon instead of the Black Ears, at least so far, because that was the big thing in the original series. The Black Ears would control and turn normally peaceful Digimon evil. I brought up Meramon because that was just like the biggest example for me from my memory. um, and hell, they might still do that. The Soundbirdmon might be like a precursor to that. Like Devimon uses the Black Ear, creates the Black Ears from the idea of the Soundbirdmon, but it's like, oh, this is more reliable than using the Soundbirdmon. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm glad they're going into this. And they're definitely making Devimon just already seem a lot more menacing than he did in the original, which he was fine in the original. I liked him in the original, but making him seem this much more menacing and building up to him this much more is just, it's a great idea. Um, Also, I watched a video on the episode, and it was pointed out that in the flashback to the Holy Digimon War, the war between Devimon's forces and the Holy Digimon, the final stages for both Patamon and Gatomon, TK and Kari's Digimon were not there. It showed like the final stages for all the other Digidestin, but those two specifically were not there, which is very interesting. Like, what does that mean? That's going to be very interesting. There's already the theory floating around in my head that could that mean they were on the bad side originally? It's always possible, even with the very angelic forms that their Digimon end up taking. It's still very possible. Um, that will be interesting to find out if how significant that is. Um, so we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, either way, I'm excited to see where this episode goes. This series has just been fantastic so far. A just phenomenal reboot that has just really breathed new life into this franchise in a way that I would not have thought possible. So, that being said, let's get right to the reaction. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then it fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so I wanted to look it up in between because, one, it's not really a spoiler per se because I've seen the original series and everything, um, and just kind of forgotten. But I wanted to look up the crests just to remember, try to remember what all of them are, and I'll probably forget them. Um, but let's look at it. So obviously, as we know, Tai is courage, Matt is friendship. Which makes sense for him, considering his character arc that he goes through. Sora is love. Mimi's is sincerity, which definitely fits. She's definitely very honest and sincere about just everything, really. um, Apparently, the official subs though renamed the crest of sincerity to purity. So interesting. Anyways, Izzy is knowledge, obviously. Joe's is reliability. TK's is hope. And Kari's is light. And then Ken, this actually brings in Ken as well, because he has kindness. And then there's a couple others that are like exclusive to Digimon Adventure Memorial Goods. Not sure what that is one offhand. But yeah, so those are the Digimon crests. So Mimi's, yeah, is sincerity. Um, which, yeah, I think fits. So yeah, as I mentioned in the pre-thoughts going into this, I wanted to see this series showcase Mimi's fighting spirit. And I admittedly do not think this episode did it quite yet, but I think that it started to build up to it. This episode was definitely more doing what these introductory episodes to the characters do and showing off, well, their crests, basically, what their crests are. Um, you got to see all of that throughout each one. You got to, when you saw it with Tai, you got to see his courage. Izzy, you got to see his knowledge. Sora, you got to see her love, and with Mimi, you're seeing her sincerity, which is taking the form of empathy. Um, I, as I mentioned in the reaction, this might have been one of the biggest reasons why I did like her so much growing up. Even if I didn't recognize and realize it. Um, because I've always had this thing about characters who are very empathetic, characters who put others' needs before themselves, because it's something that resonates with me personally. I always feel that it is better to put others' needs before yourself, even if it comes at the detriment of yourself. Like people will like say that you should always care for yourself first, and I disagree with that. I mean, I believe that you should care for yourself. That self care is very important. But if you have the opportunity to, not only opportunity, but if you have the need to care for someone else, even if it sacrifices something of yourself, then in my eyes, you have the obligation to take that. We as people, I believe firmly, need to take care of each other and put the needs of others before ourselves. And I mean, that's very established in this pandemic situation we've got going on all over the world. We need to take care of others and put their needs before our own here. That's how we're going to beat this pandemic. So, yeah, it's just, I really have always liked characters who showcase that, who showcase great empathy. And I'm not saying that they have to be like weak and only focused on that or anything. No. Here's a great example: Batman. Batman is one of the most empathetic characters in comic books by far. Yet most people, like, when they think of Batman, they see this cold, calculating, kind of emotionless figure, because that's what he wants you to see. When Bruce dons the cowl, when he becomes Batman, he puts on that guise because that's what he feels is necessary to, one, strike fear in the hearts of the bad guys, and two, to keep up that mask for himself so he can continue doing what he does to protect others. That is his main goal. His main goal is the protection of others. He doesn't want anyone to go through what he did when he lost his parents in Crime Alley. He doesn't want anyone to go through shit like that. That's why he does what he does. Because of his empathy. So it's like empathetic characters can very much be badass. They can very much be strong and tough and very much fighters. And again, that's what I want to see from Mimi. In this episode, we got to see that empathy. We got to see that sincerity. And we got to see Togemon kick ass. But I want to see Mimi gain that confidence, gain that strength, and truly show her fighting spirit. And I fully believe, based on what we got in this episode, we can still get that. Like that, it definitely, like, we caught the glimpse of that kind of thing in this episode. It's something that has to be worked up to because of who her character is. She's very, for lack of a better term, soft. She's not a hardened character. She's not extremely strong-willed, and she's not used to fighting and to conflict and stuff. It's not her wheelhouse. She has to get used to that. She has to learn and grow. And I like that from a character. I love characters who have to grow and change and become better as time goes on in a series. I think it lends itself well to a show like this. That, let's be honest, is aimed at younger audiences. Because yeah, let's be completely honest. Digimon is aimed at younger audiences. It's one of those shows that you could say is made for kids, even though that's not technically true. It's made for like an all ages audience, not just kids. Like, you know, when a show is made just for kids, like Dora the Explorer, Bob the Builder, shit like that. Those are kids shows, Blue's Clues even. And there's nothing wrong with those. It's just those are kids shows. But shows like this are very clearly meant for all ages. There's a lot of themes in Digimon, both in the original and in this current one so far, that are just going to go over kids' heads. Let's be honest. They're not going to understand. They're going to see cool Digimon fighting, and it's going to be like, awesome, yeah. Or they're going to see characters like Mimi and Sora showing that love and gentleness, and they're going to be really excited to see that. But they're not going to get all of the themes. Like in the original series, when I grew up, I didn't understand all of the themes that characters like Sora and TK were going through. I didn't understand. I didn't even understand what divorce was, being honest. But they put that kind of shit into this series. Shit like divorce and abuse and depression with Ken. Death was a major factor. I mean, hell, how many times has Leomon died? um, but seriously, this is, if this continues to be like the original in that way, there's going to be the younger audience who just aren't going to understand as much. I mean, yeah, they'll probably feel the emotions of it, but they won't understand all the nuances of it. This show is not just meant for kids, it's meant for everyone. The kids are going to get into certain aspects of it, the older audiences will get into other aspects. But all of it will connect multiple different generations into enjoying the same show. And I've always loved that. I love that My Little Pony Friendship is Magic did the same thing. It connected so many different audiences. Audiences completely unexpected from a show that was marketed to younger audiences, especially younger girls. But because of the way it was written, because of the way it was performed and showcased some very heavy topics, it appealed to more than just kids. It appealed to adults, and more than just girls. It appealed to everyone. And I love it when shows do that. And Digimon is definitely one of those that has that reaching power. So I can't wait to see what it does going forward. with that in this reboot, because this reboot, we're very much clearly seeing that kind of stuff already. There is some very heavy shit that kids aren't going to understand. Kids aren't going to understand the Holy War. That is going to go right over their heads. They're going to know that, oh, these good Digimon and bad Digimon fought. That's going to be the gist of what they get from that. Uh, but yeah, yeah. This was a good episode. Not the best one we've had. I think that this is kind of how it happened in the original with Mimi and Kingdom of Palmon and all, or not Palmon, Tanamon. I think that's kind of how it happened in the original. It definitely seems very familiar to me, so I'm thinking so. Um, I don't know if it was Tuskmon in the original though, because again, I'm not 100% on how familiar they are to me. Um, but yeah, it's like this is uh this is just at the moment continuing to introduce our digidestined or chosen ones. Um, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with these early episodes doing that. It's introducing our digidestined while moving along the early portions of the story. Um, so again, assuming Kari comes last, and she comes after, like a good portion of time after everyone else, that means we still have to get to TK and Joe. I still think TK is going to come before Joe, but they might switch it around, because if this holy Digimon they're going to meet across the sea is Angemon, or I guess Palmon, um, then they might be waiting to do TK last, which means they would introduce Joe next. Um, we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see. It's kind of unclear right now. Because when they introduce TK, they are bringing Matt back as well for obvious reasons, them being brothers and all. So it's like they're going to kind of bring in everything together at that point. So yeah, I could see that allowing for TK to be the last one. It's like, oh, we've got everyone, we got Joe already, everyone's kind of come together, but then we find TK and Matt's brought back in, and it fully just finishes bringing in the group. That might be how they want to take hold of this, but we'll see. We didn't get any kind of like hint at what's going to happen next episode. The only thing close is we got a little moment with Ogremon after having retreated. He was in the forest and he looked very upset. He was very he seemed frustrated with the situation at consistently being beaten and having his the Digimon he is controlling with Soundbirdmon be defeated. So that's possibly leading into something with the next episode, but it's unclear if that actually is like really important. Um, but we'll see. We didn't get any hints at who the next Digidestin is going to be, so that's why I'm still questioning whether it's going to be TK or Joe. They could still pull a fast one on us and introduce Kari early. It's possible. Um, that's going to be interesting to display as well. To like, I wonder if they're going to really discuss the fact that Kari's partner Gatomon is normally in its champion form at all times. Gatomon is a champion level Digimon rather than a rookie like the others, like Agumon and Palmon and Biomon and all them. So I wonder if they're going to address that at all. I guess we'll see. I feel like one thing that I really wish had been done a little better in this episode is I wish that Togemon's evolution had a little more focus to it. Like they continue to give this big focus to Agumon's evolution, and I understand Agumon is the partner Digimon to the, let's be honest, main character. Tai is the leader of the Digidestined. He always was, and he'll continue to be. He is the main character. But So I understand giving him an Agumon plenty of attention. But considering this episode was, let's be honest, Mimi's episode, I feel like we should have had a little more to the evolution and to, well, Togemon in general. It just felt like it was kind of like rushed through. Um, what we got was good. It just feels like it went by too quickly. Like it was not really an afterthought, but like they wanted to focus on the other stuff more, which is a little disappointing. It's not like it doesn't break the episode or the series or anything. It's just I want to see more. I want to see more. Like we got more with Kabuterimon. We got a little more with Bergermon, and we'll get more Togemon and stuff in the future. We will. It's just I really wish that for the introductory episode for that we had more focus on that. You know what I mean? Um, but it's not that big a deal. Like I said, what we got was still great. Still enjoyed it very much, and I'm excited to continue on and see what more that this reboot has in store. So, that being said, tell me down in the comments below what you thought of episode 6 of Digimon Adventure 2020, and thank you all so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.